Frankly, one of the greatest blessings on earth is a chance to get a second opportunity to make a first impression. And as a kid growing up here in South Carolina and North Charleston who really failed out of high school as a freshman, no hope for a good future, growing up in poverty in a single-parent household, it was South Carolina and South Carolinians who came together to give me, that poor kid, a chance to realize dreams I didn't even have yet. But I had a mother who believed that all things were possible and a mentor who believed in me more than I did myself. And the truth is that it is here in South Carolina where I understood the message of redemption, the message of second chances. And I'm so thankful that you all are here and you've given me an opportunity to be your United States Senator and, more importantly, your public servant. And frankly, no place like home. I understand that better than ever. Spending enough time in Washington, there is no place like home. And I'll say that when I ran in 2016, I ran on a very simple concept. If you make a promise, you keep your promise, and then you ask people to judge you by those promises that you made and promises that you kept. So the question, as I thought about running for re-election, that I had to ask myself is, have I honored the promises I made to the people of South Carolina? And the answer is emphatically yes. Let me just talk about some of those promises very quickly here. We promised to run on an economic agenda. We believe that economic mobility is part and parcel to the American dream. I believe that a quality education or education freedom is necessary for kids to experience their highest potential. I believe that building a workforce and having a focus that you don't necessarily need a college education, but you must be a lifelong learner. What did we do about those things? Well, from 2016 to 2020, as a part of the majority, we drove down unemployment in the African American community to the lowest in the history of this country. In the Hispanic community, 4.2, I believe it was, the lowest in the history of this country. Women, a 70-year low. Overall population, a 50-year low. And Asians, 2.8, the lowest in the history of the country. How did we do that? We did that by having certainty and predictability in the regulatory framework, but we also lowered taxes. We said if we lowered your taxes, you'd have $4,000 extra dollars that you could decide how you spend it. What happened? Well, we missed it by a little bit. It was $4,400 basically on average. And so promises made, promises kept. Unfortunately, elections have consequences. And in 2020, the election to the White House had consequences that are reverberating today, and they are powerful, they are negative, and they are crippling. And I got to tell you that some of those consequences Drew just talked about. And those consequences are the highest inflation we've seen in 40 years. Now, what is inflation? Inflation is basically an invisible tax. It costs more, but you have less money to make those buying decisions. Too many people in South Carolina and around our country are having to make hard decisions on rationing their energy or their medicine. Those decisions shouldn't have to be made. But they're having to be made by people on fixed income, struggling every single day. Their spending power is down because inflation and the cost of everything is down. No better example than at the gas pump. You see, before there was a Russia situation, before there was a crisis of genocide in Ukraine, our gas prices went from December 2020 at $1.99 to $3.40 or so last year. So we can't blame that on Russia, we can't blame that on Putin, we can't blame that on Ukraine, we can't blame that on international challenges. We can blame that on the first day of President Biden's term. He turned off the Keystone XL pipeline. He stopped the permits from going forward. He literally set us back by years, and more importantly, by dollar amounts that you can see at the top. When a family making $17 an hour spends $100 more a month, that's I'm running for reelection because I know how to get it done because we just did it. So if we focus on the American family, if we make sure that we are the party of parents, that we listen to what parents say in education, and we understand the kitchen table economist, also known as a mom, making tough decisions, giving her more weapons, more arrows in the quiver is how we right this ship, bringing inflation down and bringing wages up, and focusing on the aspect that American leadership is a necessity of a world constitution led by history and the heritage. We, the soon-to-be independent, would have already severed our ties with Great Britain. We would not have bought 600,000 barrels a day, funding in part crazy patriotism. We can do better. So through my reelection, I will focus on the promises that I'm making, the promises I will keep, on making sure that economic mobility is a reality for South Carolinians and for Americans from sea to shining sea. Making sure that education is free and you choose, parents get to choose what kind of education and what kind of curriculum you want them to take. And the greatest